In this short documentary, I'm going to explain why Gen AI visual models like Sora, Runway AI, Kling, and Veo 3 are probably gonna hurt you, and why they're likely already hurting you. Yes, you. You might benefit in some ways from these models, but I'm gonna show you why they'll probably hurt you too. I'm not going to talk about copyright infringements, deepfake scams, the damage to forensic science, the political implications of the collapse of truth, or the mass job losses, though all are valid concerns when it comes to Gen AI visual models. Instead, I'm going to focus on one particular risk, which is more insidious, rarely discussed, and mostly ignored. So, let's begin. Most of us remember specific moments in films we saw while growing up that will forever be burned in our memory. Our minds were shouting, "How the hell did they manage to do that?" And our facial expressions were more or less like Grant and Ellie's in Jurassic Park when they saw this. For me personally, the moment I saw this back in 1993 was one of amazement and disbelief. The Apatosaurus looked so real that it was hard to imagine it wasn't moving in front of the camera, just like the actors Sam Neill and Laura Dern. For most people who were brought up in the West during the second half of the 20th century, films were a source of wonder and awe. Many of our most emotional and inspiring moments happened while we were sitting in the dark in the movie theater, waiting for what the likes of George Lucas, Ridley Scott, and Steven Spielberg had concocted for us. But now, think about a world where the most astonishing visual possible leaves you emotionless, as if you were looking at a white wall. If you can't imagine it, don't worry, you'll soon find out. This is the world we're heading towards.
I'm not saying pornography as a stimulus is bad or good. What I'm saying is in its availability and its extreme forms, it's a very potent stimulus, and very potent stimuli of any kind. Extremely palatable food, extreme pornography, extreme experiences like bungee cord jumping, those set a threshold for dopamine release. The higher the dopamine peak, the bigger the drop afterwards. And it's not that you drop to baseline, you drop below baseline.
In the past 2 years, since the release of Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, Sora, Kling, and all the other Gen AI visual models, I've been thinking a lot about porn.
What the
Not in that way though. This wild explosion of ultra-seductive, highly saturated, and overly complex visuals on the internet made me realize that we're constantly overdosing on imagery that is actively fucking up our brains, much like how porn does to the brains of young men.
Mary Harrington has the 3 laws of pornodynamics, and the second law of pornodynamics is the law of FAP entropy. And it says that whatever you start out wank to will get progressively more intense over time. And I think that this is sort of speaking to that ever sort of escalating amount of the wildness that you need to watch in order to get an ever decreasing stimulus that comes back.
Just like young men watching too many women in too many sexual postures, while we're idly scrolling through X or other platforms, we are passively exposed to an unimaginable amount of visuals in numerous configurations, coming at us all at once, taking us to too many visual peaks too quickly. And by doing so, overstimulate us, and thus draining our ability to extract any emotional response from visuals we'll see in the future. In the past, extraordinary visuals were bottlenecked by talent and production budget, and our active choice to go watch them. This meant that mostly, if we wanted to see some extraordinary visual display, we would have to go to the film theater. We would have plateaus where we would not be exposed to anything special. For example, we had to wait for 2 to 3 years to see one of Christopher Nolan's visual feast. The expectation for Nolan's or Denis Villeneuve's next film was as exciting as seeing their films. But now, Just try to get excited by Nolan's next visual surprise after being fed on a minute-by-minute diet of AI-generated sci-fi extravagance. Looking at TikTok's latest trend of AI-generated videos, we can see the pattern. Pushing things to greater complexity, extremes, and absurdity just to squeeze out another hit of dwindling dopamine so we can feel something. Like a young guy who can't perform because his senses were totally desensitized by porn. We're bound to lose our ability to be wowed by visual content. And what a sad world it is. A world without wows. When Gen AI visual models first came out, people mostly used them to make extravagant, sci-fi, over-the-top, unusual, and humorous visuals, which created problems I covered in the first chapter. But about a year ago, something different appeared on my X feed. First this, then this. What's so confusing about these pictures and videos is that they strive for maximum authenticity in their looks, environment, overexposed flash-like lighting, camera movement, body language, and most of all, expressions. They present the same typical behaviors of real people in similar situations, including awkwardness, shyness, etc. They're so accurate that they're basically indistinguishable from real pictures and videos. For me, they feel like they're scamming my emotions. Some of you might ask, well, how come you're moved by fiction films? After all, they are also fake and played by actors. That's a good question. How is it that we're moved by fiction films, yet deepfakes that pretend to be real feel like someone's scamming our emotions? Well, my answer is that with films, we have an unspoken contract with the creator. This contract has a name: suspension of disbelief. No one is cheating us if we accept it's fake from the get-go, as a basic rule of the game. A good example of that is theater. When we go to see a play, we can be swept away emotionally by a scene, even though we obviously see that the actors are standing on stage and the trees behind them are fake. As long as the rules are clear and we accept them, it's not deception, and we can thus let ourselves feel. That's not what's happening with deepfakes. Deepfakes muddy up the waters, making everything uncertain. We can't be sure anymore what is real and what is fake. The bigger problem here is not that we will become apathetic to deepfakes, but rather that we will not let ourselves feel anything towards real visuals, since we won't be able to discern one from the other. And when you can't be sure, especially when something is pretending to be real, you will keep your emotion locked behind the closed gates of your doubt. You will not be tempted to invest your real emotions in a possibly fake smile or a prompted tear. That's why AI visuals feel like deception. Before deepfakes, there was usually a safe distance between reality and fiction. The fakeness was either given away by the visual choice, as in the case of animation, or by conceptual understanding, as in the case of suspension of disbelief in fiction films and TV. Well, not anymore. And that's also true for our ability to feel awe and amazement when seeing visuals. Many of the extraordinary videos we saw in the past were impactful because they were real, because we were amazed that something like that could even exist or happen in real life. But now, given the existing AI visual models, we automatically assume or doubt that they are AI generated and therefore never allow ourselves to access such feelings. Admittedly, this doubt started to creep in since the days of Photoshop, beauty filters, and VFX, but it has become much worse since AI. Anything we see through our past experience, as well as our expectations, beliefs, and assumptions. There is no surprise without an underlying assumption of a different outcome. There is no amazement without our preconceived assumptions about the world. Other than the case of fiction films or TV, it's harder to have an emotional connection to someone without the assumption that this someone is real. This point, which may seem contradictory to the previous one about the pornification of reality, actually isn't. When it comes to real visuals, we will never be able to feel the same as before, due to our growing suspicion that they might be AI generated. As for obviously fake visuals, we'll push things to extremes just to extract some semblance of excitement from them. a process that will gradually erode our ability to feel anything at all. In other words, if Gen AI adds anything to our world, it is apathy. AI visuals are generated instantly, effortlessly, endlessly, and that's exactly why they feel worthless. This happens because in most cases, the perceived effort, the time it takes to produce something, and its scarcity all influence the value we assign to it. The GHIBLified memes trend from several months ago is a particularly striking example. I made it a point not to use those generated so-called GHIBLified memes here, but you probably know what I'm referring to. During that frenzy, I tweeted something like this. To all of you eagerly prompting Ghibli-like pictures, just think about the next time you'll watch a Studio Ghibli film. Would it feel the same? Would it still touch you like it used to? You're burning all your pathways to meaningful emotion without giving it a second thought. But the case of Ghibli-style AI images isn't just about devaluing our experience by mass-producing art in seconds and reducing it to soulless memes. It's a special case because we're taking a visual language that was created to tell stories, meticulously crafted to serve Miyazaki's imaginary worlds, and desecrating it with content that's as far removed from his vision as possible. From now on, we may no longer be able to watch a Miyazaki film like Spirited Away or My Neighbor Totoro without seeing echoes of Ghibli-fied memes, Trump and Zelensky fighting in the Oval Office, or that distracted boyfriend. The road to apathy is a one-way street. There's no turning back. In the past, the diamond market was almost exclusively a market of real diamonds that were mined in places like Africa and Russia. But around the mid-2010s, synthetic diamonds grown in labs began gaining significant traction and eventually dominated the market. The entrance of lab-grown diamonds into the market has contributed to a devaluation of natural diamonds and terminally damaged the whole diamond trade. I worry that that's what will happen with films and TV drama as a result of AI visual models. The fakeness of AI content, its prevalence, and the fact that it's so easy to create will devalue the art of filmmaking itself and drain its ability to influence, excite, and inspire film lovers. That's what drove me to make this short documentary. What is the purpose of art, of films, if not to make us feel? The real arena we must guard at all costs is the arena of our hearts and minds. This is where the drama truly lives. If we could no longer feel and react to the world around us, what would be the value of stories, films, or any form of art? With AI visual models, all visual avenues will be explored at the speed of your fingers prompting them. There'll be nothing left to be desired. It will make the most complex, imaginative visuals seem bland and uninteresting. When we speak of abundance, we should strive for abundance in our inner world. And over-the-top inflation of the outer world, much like economic inflation, would only devalue our inner experience. I'm just one person, and I could be completely wrong in my intuitions. I might miss the mark entirely. AI is advancing so quickly that it's hard to fully grasp the implications of the new world it's creating around us. But, as people like Jonathan Haidt, Tristan Harris, and Ezra Raskin pointed out in their work, when social media first emerged, no one could have predicted the profound impact it would have 10 years later on democracy, disinformation, social fragmentation, and youth mental health. That's why I believe we should, at the very least, attempt to guess, speculate, and feel out the unintended consequences AI might have on our world in the coming years. And we should think about how we can mitigate those consequences, both collectively and as individuals. Let's try to do that now, before it's too late.